All right. Well, here we go. It's another episode of Church Chat.
Yay! And today we have an actual guest. One week we just did a thing where we're like reading somebody's thing as our guest. But today we have Sandy Bishop, the amazing chair of the Mission Outreach Committee. Whee! Sandy Bishop's here.
Glad to be here.
We're so glad she's on the Church Chat podcast. So we thought we'd start. Sandy, just tell us like when you started here at Maitland Pres, like how long you've been a member and what made you come here.
Well, I've been here all my life.
Wow.
My dad grew up in this church, baptized in this church, married in this church. And so it was just I was kind of born into this church and kind of floated away a couple of times just during those college days and things like that. But when Frank and I got married and had kids, I said, I want them to have the experience I had. Incredible youth group, saved my life basically in middle school and high school, just to have that support group and some really amazing adults that led the group and just, my girls got the same thing out of it. Mission trips, and Jonathan, was with Emma and just, and have continued to be a part of it. I feel like I've come home.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
So did you go to Montreat as a kid?
Yes, I did. We went for the music
Camp.
and had a blast and just, I'd love to see that happen again with our youth. And I know I took my daughters when they were real little. They had a couple of openings and they went to the children's program.
Our kids did too.
That's the best.
And it was so much fun watching them
cool.
and just to kind of go back and, renew my faith, and the beauty of it all was just fabulous. But I just, that was a big part of our youth group, is to go to Montreat, and the music program was just, and to meet all sorts of people from all over the country. Just, and it's such a beautiful environment.
It is. Oh my gosh.
Good memories. Very good memories.
Nothing like the mountains in North Carolina.
Except walking up those mountains.
Right.
A little tough at times.
Not for Florida people.
No,
one year we stayed in the Assembly Inn and they used to not have air conditioning there. And one year it was like 100 degrees. So the only cool space on the whole property that was air conditioned was the prayer room. So our high school youth group, we spent a lot of time being
praying.
Like, okay, we're going to pray. Or like someone walks in, everyone start praying really quick because it was the only place with AC.
We were in an old 2-story house.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And we had all of us staying there. And I remember being in the bathtub and the electricity went off, and no one knew where I was. I'm like, I'm in here. But I mean, it was just real rickety and, creaking floors and just kind of scary at times, especially when the lights go out. And, so I have some good memories.
We paint quite a picture of going to Montreat, don't we? We're like, sometimes it's really hot and you're in a scary old house. But do it. It's amazing. Everyone should go.
Good memories. Very good memories.
Now, what brought you to want to be in the mission committee and then to chair the mission committee? And how'd you end up doing that?
Well, it was interesting because I was real involved in youth ministry when my girls were in middle school and high school. I mean, that was my passion.
Yeah.
And then when we moved away, for a while, and I came back, it was like, I've got to get involved in something. And not that I don't love Jonathan, and was kind of told him, I'm here if you need me for youth, anytime you need a meal made or whatever. It was just something I felt like I needed the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so I went to a circle group and talked to Susan McKinney, who Joe McKinney was in charge of Mission Forever.
Yeah.
And she kept saying that Joe's retiring, not retiring, back and forth. And I knew he was working. And I said, well, do you think Joe would talk to me about Mission? And she said, oh, yeah. So I guess the next couple of days I got with him, talked to him. Then he told you, that we had talked. And then I guess it went to session like a couple of days later, and it was in the bulletin the next Sunday. And Frank,
move fast around here. We find someone good.
Welcome to this ministry.
And Frank, my husband, said, "Did you say yes to this commitment?" And I said, "I guess I did."
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
I said, "God said yes for me," but I haven't regretted it. It's been over a year that I've been, working with it. And we used to go on mission trips like Dominican Republic. We went to Nicaragua with each of our daughters. Frank and I did, which was phenomenal. And it's really neat to see what our church is giving to. I didn't even know half of the organizations that we give to, and to find out more about them. And I felt like, gosh, I'm so ignorant. I hope our congregation isn't, ignorant like this. I want them to realize where their money's going.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not giving a whole lot, maybe they'll be encouraged to give even more, not only of money, but of their time.
Right.
If they're encouraged by, wow, that's something I want to get involved in.
That's
And I think we
awesome.
have enough to go around. There's something
Right.
for everybody to feel comfortable in doing, whether it being just bringing in food for a food drive or actually going to like the sharing center or going on a mission trip or, things like that, or clothing drive. I think
Yeah.
there's something for, young and old to be involved in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we give, you want to talk about our mission giving a little, like we give 10% of our pledged income every year goes to mission projects in the community, like nonprofit partners, which we have a lot of.
Yeah.
Like, see, what's
And
your,
I didn't even know that
Yeah, right. Like,
until
I
I
don't
was
think people
on the
always
committee,
know.
and I'm like, what? You know?
Yeah. And we've been with some of them like forever. Now we have a couple new ones too, but of all the mission programs we've partnered with, which one would you say right now you're like extra excited about or most excited about working with? Do you have a favorite program or something you're excited
Well,
about?
right now we're getting ready to start with Family Promise.
Okay, cool. Do you want to
So,
talk some about what that is
Sure.
for people who might not know?
I'm really, and that was just kind of a fluke. A friend of mine talked to a member of our church who gave her my name because I was head of commission of the committee of mission, and so she reached out to me about Family Promise, and I had never heard of it. And then that luncheon came up around Christmas time,
Right.
and so I went to that. I said, "Well, let me see what this is. If it's a nationwide program, and I've never heard of this in
Yeah.
our church. I'm sure we've been involved before. What is it?" So it's basically homeless families. It has to be families. They have to have a child that's at least 18 or younger to be
Okay.
involved in this program. There's an extreme screening program process for families to be included. It's they screen them. They can't be convicts or on drugs, things like that.
Right.
So they're very particular. It's a certain type of family that has just been down on their luck, and they don't have a place to live. And there's various churches and organizations, including Rollins College, that give like a week to 3 weeks or 4 weeks out of the year where these families can actually stay on their property for an entire week. And, we as a church will provide dinners for them and breakfast in the morning and just a place to lay their head and, be there if they need to talk to us, but not necessarily invade their space because most of these
Right.
people are just exhausted.
Right. Aren't
And
we
they,
all at the end of the day?
They just want
Yeah.
a place to lay their heads.
Yeah.
And maybe some people to kind of play with their kids while they take a breath.
Yeah.
And so it just seemed like after we took the survey of the congregation and things that were close to their heart, it seemed like homelessness and hunger were on the top of the list. And this
Right.
just fit the bill.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is something they want to do anyway. So we started really researching it more, and I visited 3 different churches, and they've come to talk to our mission committee with the churches that are actually doing it.
Yeah.
And come to find out, we were involved at one time as far as providing meals. And I think they're under a different leadership now, which is great. I think they're very organized. They're very flexible.
Right.
And so we're going to do a week right before Christmas
So exciting.
to kind of get our feet wet
Yeah. Try it
and
out.
kind of look over it after we're finished, see how it went right, went wrong, what can we change?
Right.
And I feel like we have a lot of support from that organization to make it work.
That's so
So
nice.
I'm excited. It seems like everything seems to be falling into place.
It does.
That's all.
And it doesn't hurt that Megan's heart is, for mission.
Yeah.
I do. I love
You
mission.
get so
I love
excited
mission.
for that, and that pumps me up till I'll go home and my mind is so full of information that I'm like, I just need to let this set a minute.
Yeah, with Family Promise, there's been a lot of information.
Well, they're such a great organization. Like they're
Right.
organized and
Yeah.
excited, and they have a great
Yeah.
plan, and they really are together. Where a lot of nonprofit organizations sometimes are so busy doing the work that they aren't good at talking about the work or sharing the
Exactly.
load
Right.
with anybody else, and so they're just fantastic.
Well, didn't
Yeah.
you all do that in Ohio? Weren't you involved with Family Promise?
were-
Or you knew about
smaller
it?
thing. So part of their program is called Circles
Right.
Ministry.
I have heard of that.
And
Yep.
so that's where you just get a whole support system around
Right.
one person who's having trouble
Right.
economically, and they're the leader of their circle, and it's just a really long-term involved process. But that's what it has to be to get people to figure out a way to get out of poverty.
Well, and I think that's one of the things I love about Family Promise. It's not just providing that 1 week.
Right.
It's follow up. It's classes
Yeah.
they can take to kind of support them and people in the community that will be there for them if they need them. So it's not
Yeah.
like, okay, we'll provide a meal for you and a bed to sleep in, but good luck in finding a job or good luck in
Right.
finding housing. And they're one of the few, there are other really good organizations that work with that, but this is the entire family. It's not just the homeless man or the homeless woman,
Right.
or I don't know. I just have like God led us to this.
It feels
This was
that
not a
way.
mistake.
And it's
Yeah.
how much effort it takes for families to get support.
Yeah.
Like
Right. It takes a whole village of people.
And it kind of reminds me of what Eric Gray talked about, that homelessness is a nuclear meltdown. That it's not when one
Yeah.
thing goes wrong, it's when everything goes wrong.
Exactly.
And so to build everything back up in your life takes like a lot of help.
It does.
You can't just, it's not just fixed with a little token.
And that Family Promise is doing that like emergency help all the way through like empowerment and
Mm-hmm.
sustainability and getting them out of the situation that they're in, which is unusual. A lot of organizations are just emergency help, like that front doormat kind of ministry, which is so critical: housing, food, shelter, those things. And then there's others that do long-term work with people, but I love that they're kind of the whole picture, which
Yeah, they
seems
could
really
be,
neat.
they support them more than just a month or two. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a couple of years.
Right.
Now, not all the families continue with the various stages of their program,
Right.
but at least they know it's there if they need them. And
Yeah.
hopefully they don't backslide into another, situation where they're homeless again.
Right. Well, and what did Eric Gray say when he was here? It's like most people are only homeless for about 8 days. Like
Yeah.
the highest, like it's often a short-term
Right.
crisis. And then what people don't always realize is like here in Central Florida, our shelters are often at capacity. So like our women's shelter right now, the last time we heard at least, was at capacity, which means there is no, even if it is just 8 days, that might be 8 days you're on the street with your kids, where
Right.
Family Promise instead keeps your whole family under one roof. If there's a mom and a dad and kids, they can all be together instead of
Right.
separated in the shelters. And if there's not room at the shelter, there is no option if you don't have someone you can stay with. So Family Promise kind of helps give some stability, especially if it's a short-term problem, to give people a chance to get on their feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary, like with Eric Gray telling us about the housing, and there
Right.
is no affordable housing, and Florida is one of the worst.
Yeah.
And to kind of look at the future and be aware that that's going to be a major problem in the next several years.
Yeah. What do you
That
say?
was
We don't have
scary.
like a homeless problem.
It's a
We have an
housing problem.
affordable
Housing.
housing
Yeah.
problem.
And that
yeah.
was scary to me.
Yeah. And we're already seeing, I feel like, a little bit of an uptick, even here at the church. We've noticed like a few more people on the property than we've had in the past, or like a few more people
I'm
coming in
seeing
for
that
help.
too.
Yeah. Like
Since
even just in Maitland. Yeah.
to be back living in Maitland,
Yeah.
and that sort of stuff, and people walking down our street and some of the
Yeah.
parks that are around the area, and they've got their basket and all their belongings in the baskets.
Right.
I'm seeing a lot more of that
Wow.
than I have in the last couple of years, because we've been back a couple of years, and
Yeah.
but I've just seen a lot more of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So this is a great opportunity. I love Family Promise too, because it's a really like it's an easy way for people to help. Like sometimes you want to volunteer, but you're like, I don't know how to help, or maybe you're nervous about going downtown into a shelter for the first time.
Right.
But this is like it's in our church here, and you can, like Sandy said, you can donate items, you can bring food and cook dinner, you can be one of our overnight hosts who sleeps in the building, you can advocate in the community. Like there's so many ways people can be involved, and then it's just 1 week too. Like you're not signing on forever.
Right.
But it's a really good entry ramp if you're someone that's like, I want to help about folks experiencing homelessness, but I don't know where to start. Like, I think this could be a great place to start.
And isn't this what the FLC was built for?
Yeah, yeah.
We
Our
built
Family
this,
Life Center
we
here at
weren't
the
here,
church.
but I guess we were kind of here when
We
they,
were
when,
kids,
they,
though.
when they were building it.
We were
but
like,
they
yay, dodgeball.
built this huge building
Yeah.
Yeah.
and said we're going to putting in showers and all these things so that we can help people, and then we didn't.
Yeah, that we have showers and laundry and a locker room and all these things that God's given us as a church, and so it's a stewardship issue too. How do we use the resources we
Right.
have
Mm-hmm.
for ministry outside of just meeting our own needs? Like right now, I think the biggest users, until recently, the biggest users of those showers were the staff. Like if we had a long day and needed to
Yeah,
grab a
during
shower.
hurricane power outages and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
really excited that we're gonna be doing that. Even though it's just 1 week, we can build from there.
Yeah, it's really exciting. What was one of your earliest experiences with mission, Dave, like in the church?
Oh, first one I can remember at the church, we took a mission trip to Mexico.
How was that?
I mean, I was 15, so it was fun to go to Mexico, and we
Right.
went, and
Your mom went with you too,
yeah,
right?
whole family went, and yeah, so it was, for me, it was more like, a family vacation than
Right.
the mission trip. We did the work when we had to, but then we slept in hammocks
Okay.
that you bought there. Like, they didn't have beds, you just put up the hammocks, and then we'd get up on the roof, and we went and found some Cuban cigars, and then Dave Martin came up and caught us, and he was so mad that we were up there. But it was like a beautiful night, and and then
Your
and then,
hands
but,
were tied. Like,
but
what
then,
else are you supposed to do?
and the other kids who were up there with me, their parents, went and bought big handle jugs of Kahlua, so everyone got in
I
trouble.
don't think that's changed from
I
the
was gonna
trips
say
to
that feels
Nicaragua.
like classic Maitland Presbyterian
yeah,
Church
yeah.
right there.
Presbyterians are just built a little different.
But it's interesting because when you're saying you were 15 and doing that, it's like when my girls went, Grace went with Frank and
Yeah.
Emma came with me.
And this was to
And-
Nicaragua, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think the kids realized how much they were going to have to work.
Right.
They knew they were going to do a few little things, the coffee beans and, that sort of stuff, but there's going to be a lot of free time. They didn't realize how exhausted they were going to be climbing
Right.
up those mountains to work in the coffee fields.
Right.
And I think that was an eye opener. And just, I don't know, it was an incredible situation to go with my daughter.
Right.
And
right.
then in our particular case, they had some really cool things we did in the evenings, and I washed Emma's feet as one of the things,
Wow.
which I was sobbing.
Right,
and
of
of course
course.
she was sobbing because she's
Right.
like, you probably haven't washed my feet since I was an infant.
Right.
But some really things like that really stood out in my mind that were very symbolic.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it
wow.
was like helping other people. And then when Frank and I went to Dominican Republic by ourselves, because the girls were too little, we worked in the bates and did vacation Bible school, and
Oh,
these
cool.
kids had nothing. I mean,
Right.
shacks and just see the joy on these kids and people's faces when they had nothing,
Right.
Right.
was something I took back going, oh my gosh, they don't realize what they don't have because they have,
Right.
they've got food, they've got shelter, they can go to school, because people were supporting them in their uniforms to be able to go to school. But that really hit me hard coming back going, we just are so wasteful with
Right.
everything we have,
Yeah.
and we don't appreciate, what we have.
Yeah, we get so put out about like, oh, I wish I had a 5-bedroom house.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe you're fine.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think Nicaragua, I wish the kids had had more time, and they did have a lot of time with the teenagers that lived down there. We
Yeah.
stayed in someone's home, but they weren't there when the camp was going on to see,
Right.
some of the young people and what those youth camps or young life camps serve.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Makes it real when it's someone your
It
age
does.
and looks like you and acts like you, but is in a really different world.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a relationship we're trying to rebuild now is with Nicaragua, with our mission committee.
I
And
know.
Yeah.
with over there, we had a couple come visit from there, and we're excited about maybe rebuilding that partnership and getting back to see
We need
them.
to.
And partly because it is just a lot of it is about those relationships, like building relationships across countries and cultures, and how we're all the church. And I think there's a lot there.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the way that we do mission here at the church is that it is all about partnerships with
Right.
people who are actually on the ground doing it. A lot of churches and do trips. We're Christians get kind of a bad rap for we go to impoverished countries and take pictures and
Right.
have that be our profile photo and
Like kind of the white savior Jesus tourism
yeah,
mentality.
yeah,
Right?
and
Yeah.
it's really problematic. But especially Family Promise and circles like
Yeah.
that's really doing the helping without hurting philosophy of helping folks and even what we're trying to start back up with some international partnerships are going to be doing that too.
Yeah.
But it is harder to do it for the right reasons and to really think through the potential problems that could result from trying to help.
Yeah, and that's been that's one thing I'm excited about the way that mission happens here is I feel like we take seriously like there's some great books. One's called Toxic Charity and another's called When Helping Hurts that talk a lot about like how to do mission in a way where it's not about like, we inevitably do get something out of it, which is, I think, God's blessing in that. But that it does address, like, it's not about appreciation, or it's not, those things. It's about this partnership with people, and empowerment, and help, being a partner with someone, not like, oh, I helped them and I'm so great. But even like our Nicaragua relationship it's based on relationship, and like what you were talking about with your girls.
It has to be a two-way relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that it needs to be a two-way relationship, and not something where we swoop in. Like, one of the examples the book gives, and it's so tempting for us to fall into, we love to give gifts at Christmas, which we do too as a church. You give gifts to family that don't have enough gifts. But there was one program that instead of like sending the gifts to the parents to give to their children, which empowers the parents at least on some level to be like the provider of the gifts,
Right.
there was a program that would like show up at the door with the presents and give them to the kids. So as the person getting to give the gifts, of course, that feels really nice and wonderful. And the heart behind it is in a good place. But the problem in that is then you have two parents who feel ashamed and who feel like they couldn't provide for their kids, and sets the helper up to be the hero. And then it further degrades the family, and can create a further dependency instead of an empowerment to say, how can we get you to? It's like, we're one of the programs that we donate gifts to, like, has the gifts out, and parents can come buy them for
they
like
give
a
the parents,
fraction
like,
of the cost.
coupons or kind of money that and they go in and buy, and
so they're still getting to do what you or I would do, like pick out the kid's present, pay some money for it, wrap it up, put it under the tree, which is a different model. And I think that's what's exciting about, I feel like current mission thought is headed more in that direction, which is exactly what Family Promise is. Like, there's emergency need has to be met immediately, and sometimes just like, here, take the food, take the stuff. But Family Promise, like Sandy was saying, is working to get people out of poverty. So it's exciting.
it really is.
There's a lot of good things in mission here. And that's just one of the many programs, like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, there's so many.
That's
There's
my
so
main
many.
focus right now.
Yes, because if it's new, we're doing this new thing.
There's a lot to do. I mean, the Sharing Center is
Oh my gosh.
phenomenal, which we've
Yeah.
got that coming up next month. We're doing a service project with them, and that's just an amazing project. As far as them owning that whole strip mall.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
how
right.
far they have come.
Yeah.
With just being frugal and spending their money the right way, and just being able to help, people in every way, not only food, but jobs and training, and, thrift stores, and the amount of volunteers they need is phenomenal.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great program. And that's a huge piece Sandy does as the chair of our mission committee, is she knows all of our different nonprofit partners, and like visits them in person, and kind of vets them on behalf of the
trying.
church to make sure, because we don't just like pick things out of a hat. Like, they have to be ones that are kind of meet our core values, and we feel like that the money goes to the right kind of programs, so that, because it's this, we have this huge amount of money that goes out the door to mission, and part of Sandy's role is making sure that goes to the right people.
Well, and
which
what
is
I really
huge.
love of what y'all are doing and kind of changing the mission committee is, instead of just, I think before, for a long time at a lot of churches, including this one, the mission committee kind of does the work on behalf of the church. Like, so
Right.
we take the money and we disperse it, and there's one meeting every year where everyone shows up to fight for their their piece
Oh,
of the
yeah.
pie, to go
Oh
to
my
like the thing they
gosh.
want. But then the rest, it's kind of hands off. But what you all are doing to transform our church is to make it where it's empowering the congregation, and equipping them to do more, and to find their niche, and to get really involved,
I
and
like
to kind of
that.
curate what we're doing as mission mission
Yeah,
doers.
mission doers. Well, because often you get like the people who love mission the most sit on the mission committee, which is excellent.
Right.
But then we would be like, okay, we need to collect food for this school, and then these amazing people in that room will be like, well, we'll just do it, and that's so tempting, because those are the people that are most excited. But part of our leader's job is to go out and get the whole congregation to do. And it's so easy just to say, we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah. And it's hard to get up there. I can't even imagine, when we have the different speakers come up and saying, okay, it's time
Yeah.
to do your pledge cards, and
Yeah.
we want you to give your money to us, and that's difficult. But when you tell somebody, you bring some food in, or some old clothing,
Yeah.
or volunteer your time, or even like what we did where we had something here on the premises where they could help fill bags, and they didn't have to go anyplace, and
Right.
they were doing something good for somebody else. And it's not all about the money or the items. It's
Right.
knowing that you're helping somebody else, and we just need to have a different way of we want them to volunteer more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
and to do it consistently.
and
Yes.
there are lots of opportunities for that here. You don't have to be able to like build a house physically. Like
Right.
we do a lot of things where you can do it regardless of physical ability or
Mm-hmm.
disability status or any of those things. There's ways for everybody to be involved here, which
Yeah.
is neat,
It really is.
which I think is great. So Family Promise is coming with a Minute for Mission in May.
Right.
So if you want to learn more about Family Promise, if you want to know about any of our mission programs here at Maitland Pres, you can go to our church website. We have a link on there for mission. It lists a lot of our partners, ways to get involved. There's about to be a link to our blog, which talks exactly about Family Promise, especially and how you can help and sign up and donate things. Anything else about mission today? All right. Well, hey, thanks for being here for
Is that
Church
it?
Chat.
Okay.
That's it. Thanks for being here for Church
Well,
Chat.
thank you for being here.
Thank
Sandy.
you to
Yeah, I
Sandy
enjoyed it.
Bishop,
Thanks
our
for
chair
inviting
of
me.
mission.
Yep.
Sandy's amazing. You can grab her here in the church narthex anytime, and she will answer
Yep.
all your questions
Don't
about mission.
actually grab her.
Don't actually grab
We don't do that.
Don't actually grab her. Approach her kindly and gently
Like
and
a person
slowly.
would do.
Yes. And if you're lucky, you'll get to meet her puppy Bo, who is also amazing and the newest and the only puppy member of
the
Maitland
church.
Presbyterian Church.
We're going to get him baptized one of these
That's
days.
right.
Just got to get a rule change to the General Assembly, be ratified by 3/4
He
of the
did come to Bible
presbyteries.
study yesterday. So
Yeah, slowly but surely getting
slowly
him
but
involved.
surely. So come meet Sandy and Bo, or if you already know him, come talk to us at church. And we'll see you next week on Church Chat here at Maitland Presbyterian Church.